So I guess for those of you that never saw the bed platform, I don't know if I ever took a video of me putting it together. So this is essentially how I did it. It's taken apart right now, kind of. Like I got these two boards over there. So I took two sets of pallets. Now this one's a lot cleaner, this little pod here. It's essentially like two little pods, right? Pod 1, pod 2. Pod 2, now this pallet down here was slightly too big, but it's okay, I got it to work. But this one, like I said, is a lot cleaner. Like essentially, it's two pallets stacked on top of each other with the middle boards cut out, which looks pretty good. It looks all right. There's a couple things that need to be solved on the bottom here. Like this 2x4 is disconnected, and it's still kind of got the skid plate that's kind of there, and that's got some chingadingas. Like I'm gonna be kind of working on this and redoing it, you know, like that. Not very well planning on my part. Sanding this whole thing down and then applying a new top to it. There's big pieces of OBS in there, and then I'm gonna paint the top and put the carpet double or layered back on it. So you won't see any of this. The only piece that you see is this. Now this portion, with some of the extra wood that we have, I'm thinking on building the drawers, because I have this whole pallet over here that I might be able to use. I might strip it down and use some of the parts to build the drawers. I got the 3 2x4s, all the slats. I might be able to make a decent little set of drawers in there, but I'm not 100% sure what I can do with just what I got. The drawers I'm going to build, I'm going to mount two. So 1, 2. You can see there's still some hardware back there. Like I said, I got some things to fix on this. I'm going to mount 2 rails on each side here. Essentially the 1" by 1" square rails. I'm going to roll them across. I'm going to put them across there, or maybe even smaller. I might be able to find something a little smaller. And then the drawer will have skateboard like precision bearings that fit between the pieces of metal, and it will roll on that. And that means on that piece of steel, I should be able to mount it really easy. Now I'm kind of rethinking my strategy already with what I just said. I think the bearings should be on here, and the drawers should have the piece of metal attached, and then some kind of stopper on the back. They'll probably end up grabbing like this board or that board. Well, obviously this board. And that's it. So this will be what I think will sit in the back of my truck on a regular basis. I have to cut it in two, essentially. Not really cut it, just take it apart. And like I said, there's a lot of sanding I want to do. I might pry up some of these boards gently and sand them, or just get in there with the sander as best I can and clean this all up. Obviously you don't see this, but like the drawers I want to look really good in there. So let's figure something out. But like we got to start on this project. Like the expedition's at the Subaru mechanic right now. I took it back to Subaru because last night I replaced the battery terminal, and for some reason so I replaced the battery terminal, and that was okay. Like I guess I put a shim in the battery terminal because the battery terminal wouldn't lock down, and when I went to put it back on, the actual battery connection broke. Like the forward corroded battery connection broke. I'm like, okay. So I took it apart, or put it kind of back together so the battery would start. Went to AutoZone, got a new battery connection that would work, and put it on the truck. Went to start the truck. This truck had a battery light. I'm like, So I turn it off, inspect everything. I'm like, okay. Go back, the truck won't start. I'm like, it'll just turn over, nothing. I could tell it's like fuel cut or spark cut. I'm like, this is weird. Then I take everything off, and then after that, for like a second there, it would start, but it wouldn't stay running. It would like start and then die, and then start and then die. I'm like, it's so computer programmed. I know it's a computer program. So I take the battery terminals back off. I clean everything a lot better than I did before, like really, really good. Just clean the hell out of everything, and then I put it all back together, and it's fine. Everything's great. My battery gauge is showing that I'm good to go. Like, so we drive it into town this morning. to, well, I wake up and like last night I went for a pretty decently long drive with a friend, and during that time I was cold. Like my heater's not putting out any heat. It's issue number 2 of this truck, which is the heater. The heater's not outputting very much heat. At first I thought maybe it was because it wasn't, the fan wasn't blowing hard enough, and I was like, this is weird. But then when you test it, or when you put your hand by the heat, it's fucking cold. So I'm like, that's like cold air. Like, everybody who's ever worked on a car knows, what does cold air when the heat's on high mean? Normally that means you either have an air bubble in your heater core, or your heater core is plugged. You need to flush your heater core. So because it's actually a beautiful fucking day out here. It's so fucking nice. It's perfect. And it's warm. Like I could almost take off my jacket if I was working any harder. I didn't want to come out here and risk breaking those connections or losing an O-ring. I personally was just like, you know what? For such a simple issue, I want to see how much a shop would charge me to do a heater core flush. So I called Subaru. I called a couple other places. It's pretty much a consensus. The consensus was $250. And so I'm like, okay, that's doable. $250. Like, I had some cash saved away for something else, mainly just fucking around money. I can work $250. So I fucking get on the schedule. I drop the car off. Cool. They call me, or I called them a couple hours later because they gave me the weird little text thing that's quoting me $1,800 for my repair. And I'm like, so I call them immediately. $1,800. I knew they're just like, they want to replace the heater core. Like, fuck. So I call him and I'm like, hey man, he's like, we're talking. He's like, yeah, the technician's not getting anything. Like, he thinks, like, he hasn't done the flush, but he thinks it's very much heavily the heater core. Like, the heater core is like definitely clogged very badly. And I'm like, okay, well, you said you haven't fucking flushed it yet. And he's like, no. And I'm like, well, I'll pay the $250. Let's flush it. Let's fucking flush it good. Like, what's it gonna hurt? And he's like, actually, like, if we flush it, the chances of it getting better are good. Like, it's either gonna get a little bit better and you're still gonna have to replace it, or it's gonna get a lot better and we solve the issue. But we're thinking most likely the heater core, but we'll flush it, but you're paying for it. We just didn't want you to, like, you have to pay $250 for a flush and not fucking do anything. I'm like, that's great, like, it's fine. Could I probably run heater, like, I could probably during the summer, like, I'm not gonna care about it now, but I could probably not care. And when summertime comes, when I can drive my Mustang, take everything apart, take the heater core hoses apart, and then put some coolant flush in there, some real good caustic coolant flush, and like really fucking flush it. Like, let it sit there and circulate, and just circulate fucking coolant flush through there for a couple hours. Yeah, I could. They're probably not doing that. We'll see how much they do today. For $250, it's not really that big of a price to know. Like, for the diagnostic, he wasn't even going to charge me, but we were in Gooding, and I'm like, just go for the flush. So, making sure my phone's still recording. So, yeah, that's what we're going to do. I personally say, like, so I'm waiting for the call. I'll wait to see what they say. Hopefully when I go and pick it up, like, it's a little better. It might be a little better. It might be a little, a lot better. It can't really get much worse. I mean, he was a little worried, like, man, how much is in there? It's almost like they put stop leak in this bitch. Like, that makes me a little worried because, I mean, if they go to flush it and it breaks the heater core, like, it was so fucked up that, like, it breaks the heater core, or if it was stop leak and, like, it caused stop leak to move from places that it shouldn't be, or that it should be. I don't really like stop leak, but, like, if it's actually stopping a leak right now, then, you know, go for it. But, you know, like, I'd rather not be leaking. Rather be a little cold. So we'll see. Like, I'm waiting for the call right now. We'll see what happens. I'm going to continue taking this apart, and then I'm going to go work on something else. I have another couple projects I can be working on, like taking apart the shed roof over there. So I'm going to grab a Sawzall. And this can kind of wait. I can't really do much with it until I know how it's even going to fit. And then do some measurements on the OBS that's going to go on top. So, really, I can't do much until this is off. So I'm going to take this pallet, I'm going to take this over to the sawhorses that are in there, and then probably the rest of it, and probably just take it apart. I'm probably going to take everything apart from here, save the screws, save some of the hardware, save all the boards, and then go from there. So I can use some of this stuff together, then awesome, you know. Like, I'm pretty sure a couple of these boards will be just the right size for the drawers, for the sidewalls, and then a nice bottom. So we'll see. I want to see how it goes. So, you know, and some of them are really nice, and they're mainly the length of the fucking board. So I'm just gonna get a couple of them apart and see. Like, they are obviously kind of rough because they've got screws in there. Or nails in there. I probably won't even, I don't normally take these out. Honestly, peeling these up damages the board more than just cutting. So I'll probably just cut it apart. But at least I can get all this out of the truck and into the shop for the project. So we'll see what goes on.